Welcome, King James.
I'm a cartoon? Ah! I'm shorter than Kevin Hart! No.
Meh. What's up, Doc?
Bugs! Bring it in, man.
What brings you to Tonewad, Doc?
The computer dude kidnapped my son. No! What in the Matrix hell? Hey! What'd you do to my son?
The only way you're getting your son back is if you and I play a little basketball.
You want to play me in basketball? I need to assemble an elite team.
You need a dream team. I'll take it from here. Sam, shoot the ball. Let's try that again, shall we?
We'll get your son back. I promise.
What's happening?
Up the jam.
I look expensive.
Introducing the Goon Squad!
I got it. Oh, she got me. I'm not a betting duck, but my money's on the other team.
Pump up the jam.
Yo, King, you're about to lose your
Got
family,
the world in my hands.
everything you love.
Well, at least we're good.
Oh, and I almost forgot. All of the tunes will be deleted, so...
Come on, guys. The Toon Squad doesn't give up.
If we're going out loony.
Bump up the jam.
You gotta win this game and get our son back.
Pump up the jam.
Let's go, Toons!
I got hops.
Eat on.
Coming off the bench, Wile E. Coyote. The machine producing multiple Wile E. Coyotes.
Well, that happened. We need a boost. A secret weapon.
Come on, man. Granny's out here having a martini at halftime.
Haters gonna hate.
Hey, Stephanie, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I am so excited because I'm going to go to the movies on Friday.
What? What movie are you going to see?
Well, Space Jam, The New Legacy. It's a great movie. You like basketball?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I played basketball in 9th grade. I got injured about 3 weeks in, and then I benched it the whole rest of the time.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a good memory to have. We'll have to talk about that at a future show. I'm sure, you're upset by that, but we'll talk about that. But do you like Bugs Bunny?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you have to take the kids to see it because when Space Jam 1 came out 25 years ago, I used to dress up for all my daughter's parties. I used to Space Jam 25. That's Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny. And we had a party every time I would dress up, either the Wizard of Oz or Winnie the Pooh.
Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got the real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam. Here's your chance, do your dance at the Space Jam. All right.
Me and Angie, that's me and Bugs and Toon Squad back in the day. Can't wait for Friday to come around. But check this picture out. Me and Angela, I was dressed up as Bugs Bunny. So there's a classic. 25 years ago. Check it out.
Aw.
And I got all the kids. We had 25 kids there, or 20, and I got them all Toon Squad jerseys. So it was a great time.
That's cute. Are you going to bring your daughter to this one?
I'm going to try to. But she may not want me showing this picture out there like this because she's only 2. But I had a great time, and everybody had a great time dancing to Space Jam. So you have to take your kids to see it.
Definitely. That'll be something to do with them. They still haven't been to a movie yet, so I don't know how fun that would be for anyone watching. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. So with that age group, you never know what they're going to do.
But I'm here. I've had a 5-year-old. I've had a 2-year-old. I'm giving you a little healthy advice here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime, Steph.
Appreciate it.
But you do your own thing too. You have your own book and a workbook too, Why don't you tell our viewers about that?
Sure. I wrote a book called Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt, all about overcoming toxic relationships. I felt called to do that when I realized that other people needed to hear my story so they too could be inspired to live their best life. And knowing that I was able to get through it, because I think that's the biggest part, is that people get trapped in these toxic relationships and they don't realize that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and things can get better. We just have to make the decision to leave. So this book really includes not only my story, but the story of other people who successfully left and moved on to create their best lives. And my workbook, for anyone who's looking for specific tools, the workbook really helps clients, go through step by step what they need to work on in order to start moving forward in their lives.
Wow. Now, I have a copy of your book. It's in my car, but I don't have the workbook. So, I got to, give a co-host some love here. I need the workbook.
I'll see what I can do. Well, very soon you're getting a shipment of books right to your doorstep.
That's right, because you're coming back to New York for a little bit.
I'm coming back.
There we
to
go.
New York.
There we go. And we'll have a couple of book signings. We'll have an announcement next week about where you'll be and, professionally. I know you got other things going on too. So there you go. There's your great husband, Dave, and me and you before the pandemic, before you left New York for Texas to raise your beautiful family.
It's crazy. We were talking just before the show started that, hey, what was it like before, like what we were doing before the pandemic? And it's hard to even think that far back. This has just become the norm now. I mean, in the beginning of the pandemic, we were talking about a very short period of time. And we started to realize really quickly that it was going to be much longer than we first anticipated.
That's right. But we've all endured. And we have a whole Chapters network of shows. And we have a show called Bat Boy, which is the story of Ray Negron and his journey with the Yankees for over 40 years, but specifically with him and the Yankees of the 70s and his relationship with George Steinbrenner and Billy Martin and Thurman Munson and Reggie Jackson. So Bat Boy, there's Carmine, our producer. That's a wig. That's not really his hair, but he's a great actor. If you look at his eyes, and that's Teresa playing Aunt Olga, and that's Squeegee playing a gang member. And that's a really intense scene there, which really captivates the audience. But our show's Bat Boy. We're starting next week at a couple of Boys and Girls Club in New York. We're going to be at the Argyle Theater on August 8th. There's the sign right there. And we're going to be at the Boys and Girls Club next Tuesday in Kips Bay in the Bronx on July 20th. And then we're going to be in July 22nd. We're going to be at the Boys and Girls Club in Mount Vernon. And then Arts in the Plaza on August 7th. And the Argyle Theater on August 8th. And Yogi Berra Museum in New Jersey on August 13th. And then in Baltimore, Maryland, September 15th at the Babe Ruth Museum. And all 100% of the proceeds go back to families in need, or specifically at the Argyle Theater for a family in need that's devastated by Parkinson's and they can't really maneuver within their own home. So it's a really sad situation. So I want to thank everybody for supporting. Get your tickets now at the Argyle Theater. It's $35 orchestra and $25 balcony. And I act in it, Stephanie.
And you're an actor in there, and didn't you help produce it? I mean, this is the guy that does it all.
I'm producer. I do it all. But the acting is, kind of like a little bit, but everybody loves it. So, it's short and sweet, but I do my thing. And the show is really good. Really talented actors. I can't wait. It's going to be a great, great time. Can't wait for that to happen. But tomorrow night, we're going to be in Stewart Manor, the Olive Osmond Hearing Fund program event, Under the Stars with the Sounds of the Night. Justin Osmond, part of the Osmond family, will be there, and we'll be doing a live show from there. Our chapter show will be doing it there to support families in need of hearing aids, families that can't afford hearing aids because insurances don't pick the tab up to pay for hearing aids for children with hearing loss. So that's a really sad situation. There's so many people out there that are struggling with that really need hearing aids. And Debbie Mayfort has put this wonderful event together. And we're going to be doing a live show tomorrow from 6 to 7 p.m. You want to check us out on Facebook and YouTube. But again, it'll be on Optimum Cablevision after we're done with all of that. But so much stuff is going on. There's another event on July 24th. Our man Tyler Gianchetto will be starting things off. at in Buckley's and Valley Stream. Long Island Cares will be there. We'll be collecting canned goods. Our chapter's nonprofit program will be there. So if you're coming to the show, please bring canned goods for families in need. People are still struggling during this pandemic. Great music, great entertainment. I know, Stephanie, you're not going to be here, but we'll have to send you the tape to see how it all goes down that day.
Did you say send me a tape? What year is this?
Oh, I'm sorry. But, Steph, I'm preparing for the work of this show all day, and you're working out. You're doing all kinds of things. You're sipping a nice drink, and I'm working. Look how hard I'm working over there. I got papers all over the place.
Yeah.
Nothing to say. But yesterday, I know you're a healthy eater, and I am too. But French fries, Stephanie, you like French fries, right?
I'm going to just sip on my green smoothie as you talk about French fries.
So you don't like French fries? No French fries? What's your favorite French fry if you had to pick one from here?
I don't know if I've ever had a French fry from White Castle. I don't know. Burger King French fries are pretty good.
Okay, Burger King. Mine's all American, but we have a little thing there, another picture. French fries only cost $1, but a healthy fruit cup costs $6. What's wrong with this picture?
I know. As a health teacher, this was something, and as a healthy eater, it's something that bothers me all the time. Why is it that junk food is so cheap and healthy food is so expensive? I mean, I go through so much kale and spinach and bananas and all these things that if I get chips or soda, it's like $1 for one container of it. So yeah, that's an issue that we have. And actually, my European family doesn't really understand why our fruits and vegetables are 2.5 times the price of what they have for more fruits and vegetables. So that's an issue too. Why is it that our country makes it so hard to get healthy food? And especially if you're on special services, you're not getting as much of that healthy stuff. So there's something needs to shift when it comes to healthy food.
I know. It's difficult, and prices are going up for gas and milk and just staple items that we all need. So it's a challenging time still. The unemployment rate is still high, and there are people that don't want to go back to work because they're on unemployment. So small businesses are struggling to hire people, and it's kind of a weird time in our life right now.
Mm-hmm. Never would have thought I would experience anything like this. I mean, I remember when I was in school to become a health teacher, and they told us that it was not if, it was when a pandemic was going to happen. And now to actually be living it, it's a whole different experience.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, before we get to our amazing guest who has a story that could help so many people, she was with us a couple years back, maybe when we were first starting to do the show, but it was during the pandemic, and now we upped our game. We got videos and pictures now. We got all kinds of stuff now. So Valine Marquez is going to join us real shortly, but we have a little segment called our Family Feud moment, and I think this one looks at dating. And let's check it out because it's kind of funny, and you fellas and women, check this out. Maybe take some notes.
Oh, God. Top 6 answers on the board. Here we go. Name one specific thing a man should make sure to get from his girlfriend's apartment before he tells her it's over.
His money.
Get your money.
Car keys.
Get your car keys.
We're gonna play, Steve.
We're gonna play. Lil John, this is a good one for you, buddy, because you got a girlfriend. And this question right here, you ought to have this one. I would expect you, Lil John, to get the #1 answer, because it's right up your alley. Name one specific thing a man should make sure to get from his girlfriend's apartment before he tells her it's over.
His cell phone, Steve.
Get your damn cell phone. Cell phone. Annie, name one specific thing a man should make sure to get from his girlfriend's apartment before he tells her it's over.
His toothbrush.
His toothbrush. Miss Leslie? Name one specific thing a man should make sure to get from his girlfriend apartment before he tell her it's over.
I would say any incriminating photos or videos.
See, that's an old school answer. That's an old school answer. Photos and videos. All that's in the phone now. See, that's an old school answer. Incriminating photos and videos. All right, John, we got 2 strikes. We got to be careful. Swain family could steal. Name one specific thing a man should make sure to get from his girlfriend's apartment before he tells her it's over.
His clothes, Steve.
Got to get his clothes. Got to get all your clothes. Yeah, get her panties too, because you're not going to see them no more, so. 2 strikes, you got to be careful. Swain can steal, Molly. Name one specific thing a man should make sure to get from his girlfriend's apartment before he tell her it's over.
His laptop?
His laptop. Name one specific thing that a man should make sure to give from his girlfriend's apartment before he tells her it's over.
We're going to go with pet.
Yes, sir.
Preston.
Yes, sir.
You were not involved in this answer. I know you wasn't.
Thank you.
You wasn't involved in that answer, was you?
No, sir.
You let these 4 women override you. They ain't came up talking about some damn pet. I know
Steve,
Preston. No, Preston. Preston.
Come on, Steve.
Yes, sir.
The question was one specific thing a man should take. And you knew the answer.
A dog is a man's best friend, Steve.
A dog, what?
A dog is a man's best friend. Take the dog.
Girl. Pat! Number 6. Five. Your ass on YouTube. Your whole damn family on YouTube. Your whole damn family gonna be on YouTube.
What do you think?
Before she even said anything, the mom of the group is the one who said like incriminating evidence. Right. She was the one who said to hide that.
That's right. That's right. Well, we have a little fun here on the show, and there's nothing funner than watching Steve Harvey with the Family Feud. He does a great job with that. There's a lot, there's a lot of stuff on relationships there. So I bob and weave and try to pick something out for our show. But we seriously, healthy relationships. There are a lot of red flags on unhealthy relationships. Let's go through it real briefly before we bring in our guest. And Carmine, if you want to pop in that first one, 6 serious relationship red flags and how to spot them. And Stephanie, if you could comment on love bombing.
Sure. Well, love bombing is when in the very beginning of a relationship where people show a lot of attention, they're trying to do everything they can to make them seem like a really great partner, a really great person. They make us feel really good and it draws us in. It makes us feel like we need to be a part of this relationship. This person's different than maybe other people that we've had relationships with. And it gets us attached because a lot of us that are in toxic relationships, once we get attached, we're not very good at letting go. So they're hoping that once they get us sucked into the relationship, they're hoping that we're not going to let them go.
Okay, well said. Number 2. Chronic anger.
Chronic anger. This person's always angry. They do this a lot to try to tell other people that it's their fault that they're behaving that way. So they don't want to take any responsibility for it. I wouldn't behave this way if you acted better, if you spoke differently, if you dressed differently, if you didn't hang out with your friends, if your parents weren't so-and-so, or your sister wasn't saying such and such. But there's always an excuse for their anger. They'll be the ones mean to the waiter. They'll have road rage, be angry to pets, whatever, but they're constantly angry about something.
Number 3.
Number 3, disparaging humor. So they make us feel bad. They belittle us. They put us down. And a lot of times, like, we'll try to we'll try to explain the humor and say, well, they're just sarcastic, they're just being funny, but that sarcasticness is actually meant to hurt our feelings and make us feel bad.
Okay. And number 4, insincere or no apology at all.
Yeah, a lot of times they try to blame us, so they don't want to apologize. They don't want to take responsibility for their own behavior because they're not doing anything wrong in their mind. Everything is your fault. So they either won't apologize at all because it's not their fault, or they'll apologize just because they know that that's what you want to hear, but that's not, they don't actually mean what they say.
Or they flip it and they say, I'm sorry you feel that way, not really addressing their own role in the actions and behaviors that they just witnessed.
I'm sorry you feel that way. If you hadn't done X, Y, and Z, I wouldn't have behaved that way, but I'm sorry that I did. It completely doesn't make any sense.
Right. Next one, Carmine, number 5, isolation from friends and family. This is a big one.
They love this one because the more that you are dependent on them, the more that you want to be around them in their mind. So if they keep you away from your family and friends, because family and friends most of the time will see what's going on, they don't like it. So they might tell the person who's being abused, like, hey, we don't really like what's going on with you and so, and because they're saying that, the person who's being abusive, they want to keep them away because they don't want anyone to tell the person being abused that they are being abused. They want to keep them all to themselves and not let anybody else talk sense into them, realistically. And again, the more you're isolated, the more you're the only one that I have left, the more we attach to that person.
And that can be really strong because if the person is around their friends and all of a sudden a friend might say, I don't know about this guy or this girl, you should really think twice. Well, that other friend, their friend might not come around because of what they said in protecting that relationship, correct?
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely what it is. Again, the abuser doesn't want any of the friends to talk sense. Right. So let's just keep them away. I mean, with my ex, there was a specific person that he didn't like, and he kept making excuses for why he didn't like her. But it was really because she wasn't afraid of speaking her mind and saying how much she disliked him, and he didn't like that.
Right. And last one, number 6, manipulation.
Manipulation, they are trying to use all of your good nature against you. So the fact that we are kind, empathetic, caring people, they will try to use that to keep you around. So they'll manipulate all your goodness to try to keep a hold on you in the relationship.
And that's where the challenge of kicking unhealthy relationships begins, because if someone's struggling in any of those areas and they really want to maintain that relationship, healthy or unhealthy, they're not going to really look to that. They're going to look over that and not really understand their involvement. It's like a web, right? They're trapped in this web of this relationship. Sometimes it takes a long time to break away.
Well, then if we already have low self-esteem, so we don't feel very good about ourselves, this person has told us how great we are, how wonderful we are, then they'll manipulate all of the goodness that we are as a good human being and manipulate that. That combination altogether is just a recipe for disaster.
Right. Well, our special guest, Valine Marquez, is from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and she's been doing great work over the years, but she's overcome a relationship or 2, abusive relationships, to get where she is in life. And she really struggled back then, but now she's overcome it, and she's coming back on the show. Like I said, she was here about a year and a half ago. She's coming back on the show to make sure people get the message that you can do it. You can overcome an unhealthy relationship. So let's bring Valine onto our show. And there she is right there. And she's from Scranton, Pennsylvania. And Valine, welcome to Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb with Stephanie and Steve.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me back.
Yes. Thank you so very much. I know you're in Pennsylvania. Everybody healthy and safe post-pandemic, kind of?
Yes. We're doing great. Thank you.
Okay. So the name of the show is Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. We asked you to come back because your message is really powerful. You were able to overcome a relationship or 2 when you were younger. Talk about that relationship for all the people out there that are watching us and trying to get that edge, trying to get that tip of what to do to break away.
Okay, so yeah, and even the steps that were just listed prior to this too, that I was listening in on, the love bombing. I like to refer to that as like baiting, kind of like baiting and luring to get you to think that someone really has the best interest in you. And for me, that was like the big thing that I had to look out for as a red flag, because when I was younger, obviously the first abusive relationship I was in, I was so young that to me, I didn't really know any better. I didn't have that much experience otherwise to kind of compare that to. So it was almost like I developed a defense mechanism, whereas I defended a person because I thought that they loved me because of all the love bombing and the baiting that was going on. I just felt like, well, how could they really be doing me wrong if they love me, if they care about me, if they, after they're mean, they say nice things. I think that was like one of the biggest things I had to overcome in, dealing with an unhealthy relationship, is understanding that, the abuse would happen, but then you get the love bombing after that to kind of keep you there and bait you back in to make you stay. And like Stephanie was just saying with the insecurity, and that is something I developed from being in a bad relationship, an unhealthy relationship. I was with someone older who would abuse me and, teach me things, how to defend myself. But really, in all reality, they were teaching me to defend myself from them. And it was a very skewed situation. And even from then till the last time that I was on your show till now, I've learned so much, that not just about being in an unhealthy relationship, but that you can also have unhealthy friendships around you, that you're still using those things that you've learned out of those unhealthy relationships. I had to realize that I still had, some of that toxic traits around me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that when you start those relationships young, I mean, and I don't know about your situation, but if we don't have a healthy family structure that teaches us healthy relationships to begin with, then we start dating and we also experience unhealthy relationships. We don't know what's normal, so we really have nothing to compare it to. And then, of course, when you do have unhealthy romantic relationships, a lot of those people also get sucked into unhealthy friend relationships because we're helpers. So like for me, I was a helper. I had all these friends that needed me to save them, to help them. And I had that in my relationships as well.
Mm-hmm.
Did you experience that, Lily?
Yes, absolutely. That's, like I said, just from a year and a half ago, as you become healthier yourself and unlearning all those defensive habits that you learned from a bad relationship, you also start becoming more aware of yourself and what you can allow from everyone, not just a romantic partner that's in your life. And for me, that was a big thing that I feel like I'm still learning all the time. That first initial abusive relationship that I was in, the last straw for me was this person was someone who, wanted to teach me how to defend myself. So they would take me to go shoot guns and take me to go learn, how to hit a heavy bag and do things to protect myself. But the last straw was, when that person then turned around and tried to use the gun on me. And for me, that was one of the most scary situations, because here you understand how powerful that thing is, but never do you expect to, have that put back on you. And then what do you do in that situation? You have no choice but to submit to that person, which is ultimately what they want, is just for you to submit to them. And, that was something so traumatic that I had to kind of unlearn what I learned from that person, unlearn all the insecurities, belittling myself because they belittled me. So I started to believe every single thing that they told me. And, after they say physical abuse is terrible, but also aside from the physical abuse, you still have the mental abuse that is constantly going on in your head, like a hamster wheel. Those things are repeated. And sometimes when you don't know any better, you believe them. And then...
But also too, when you're, when you love someone and they tell you all these horrible things about yourself, I mean, a rational person would say, well, this person loves me. They're telling me this to make me a better person, or they mean well. So we want to rationalize what they're saying. Again, like a normal person, if you can say that something's bothering you about the other person, then that's not a bad thing. But these people, what they do is they use it to really have power and control over the person they're abusing. and belittle us to the point where we feel like we have nobody else. Hey, you're right. I'm not lovable. I'm so lucky that you're here for me to show me what love is. And they do it to mess with our minds to keep us stuck.
Yeah. This is Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie McPhail. I'm Steve Vaccaro. We're here every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And today we have the pleasure of talking with Valine Marquez. And she's just reviewing a earlier relationship, which is totally unhealthy. So, Valine, I'm going to ask you, so when you were training to shoot guns recreationally, I think we might have lost her for a minute. I don't know if she can hear me. But when you were training to shoot guns, did you ever imagine that you'd be in a situation where the gun was going to be turned on you? And two, did you see any red flags before that?
Well, it looks like she might be having to come back in, but isn't that an interesting thing where here was this guy that became, physically abusive on top of being verbally abusive. He's actually going off and showing her how to use guns. What a really terrible way to intimidate someone. Right. Like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to do this, but then I'm going to use this against you. So you really completely feel powerless.
Yeah, I can't imagine that situation. I mean, that is taking it to the hilt. And to bring a girlfriend or a spouse to shoot a gun and then turn the tables like that in the ultimate form of unhealthy, abusive relationship is tragic. It's very difficult. And probably
manipulation. Total manipulation. Like, let me try to empower you, and then I'm taking that back at the same time. So, and again, our brain doesn't work very well with cognitive dissonance. We don't want to have two conflicting ideas at the same time, so we just choose one. So here this person they're really great here, but they're really terrible here. Well, I only want to remember the great parts, and I want to kind of, deny the other bad stuff that's going on. I'm going to focus on the good stuff. And again, most of us are very kind, loving, understanding people. So we want to see the good in somebody else. And that's not a bad trait to have. It's actually a really good trait to see the good in other people. But the problem is we still have to have boundaries. We still have to see when and you talked about red flags before, we still have to see some of those red flags. I mean, if you're looking at someone that's dangerous and they're causing you to be, to be put in danger like that, I mean, that's a huge red flag.
Right. And sometimes when we see red flags in any relationship, you may see that, you may feel that, you may experience it, but you're like hoping for the best. I say, okay, let's just get through this day. Things are going to turn around. It's just a matter of time, but that time sometimes never comes.
Yeah, well, and so when I was in my toxic relationship, my first marriage, I just remember that there was right before we got married. Now, I wasn't really ready for him to move in yet. I wasn't really looking to get married yet, but he pushed it. Those are huge red flags. If you're not ready for someone to move in with you and they keep pushing you to move in, take it from me, it's much easier to not have them move in at all than to have them move in and try to get them out. Right. Because then when he was in, he was like, well, now we should get married. And then it was like, let's get married at a place that I want to get married in. That was him. I didn't want to get this big fancy wedding. He wanted a big fancy wedding. He wanted to show off to the guests. He'd have road rage. So that was a huge red flag. He'd get really angry driving through New York City. And so I'm like, I just have to be the one who drives because I was scared for my safety. I mean, road rage incidents kill people. So I'd say, okay, well, I got to drive myself. Then the fact that there were people he didn't like, he would leave me places if he didn't like what I was saying. He would curse at me, he'd scream. Then he'd tell me that, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Everybody talks to each other this way. So there was all these red flags before we even got married. And then when I would talk to people and say, hey, we're not getting along very well. And people would say, well, everyone gets that way right before they get married. There's always a lot of arguments that happen right before they get married. Now, I didn't specify how bad the arguments were. I didn't specify who left me on the side of the road or I didn't say any of those things. But people are like, oh, it's normal for people to argue more before they get married. So I didn't want to believe that this was such a bad guy. And I wanted to get married. I wanted to settle down and have a family. And this was the guy that liked me. This is the guy that wanted to marry me. So I said, you know what? Again, cognitive dissonance. I'm going to believe what I want. I'm going to look at the things that I want to look at and ignore the things that don't go along with what I want to have happen, which is live the happily ever after. And I really hoped that if we were able to just get to that past the wedding, then things would finally be happily ever after, that things would finally be good. But if it's bad before the wedding, it's only going to get worse after.
I'm going to put my psychologist hat on now. We're still having technical problems with Valine. But back then, if you could remember, if you had to rate 1 to 10 your self-esteem and self-confidence, 10 really being great self-esteem and self-confidence and 1 being really low, what would you give yourself back then?
So back then, I've always had pretty decent self-confidence, and that's an issue that a lot of us in toxic relationships get into. We have self-confidence. I would be able to walk into a room, talk to everybody. I was friendly. I was a caretaker. I didn't mind that kind of stuff. My self-esteem, however, I would say was probably more like a 4. I just didn't feel like I deserved good things.
Okay. And now, what would you say your self-esteem is now?
I'd say my self-esteem is probably depends on the day, because we can actually, some days can be better than others, but I'd say it's most of the time at a 9 or a 10.
Okay. Awesome. Feline, you're back.
Yes, I'm sorry. We're having a little rough weather here, so I think it just booted me, so I had to come back in.
That's right. We talked it up a storm here. I literally talked up a storm here. But Feline, we're talking about that unhealthy relationship, and I asked you a question. Did you see any red flags back then? And 2, when the tide was turned a little bit, when the gun was used on you, did you say, "Oh my goodness, how did I let myself get this far deep into it?"
Yes, and you know what? The sad part is that you see all the red flags, but because you care about someone, like I almost convinced myself that it was okay. I can help them get through these red flags. Whereas, that's obviously not the truth. We can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. But when you have a big heart, you're like, oh no, I could do that. I could help you. I'm going to look over that. But when that happened, it was almost like, okay, now I have to unlearn all these things that I made myself be defensive. I defended them. I allowed them to disrespect me. And it was almost like I had to learn how to respect myself again, to know that, okay, now I know what red flags are. Now I can't ignore them. I can't make excuses, because that's what I would do, is I would make excuses for the red flags, because you want to be happy. You want to be in a relationship. You want to think that someone wants the best for you because you want the best for them.
Right.
So yeah, red flags were definitely something that I had to understand and realize. And even now, I feel like I've learned so much, whereas I see a red flag and I'm like, nope, sorry, no, thank you. Have a good day.
So back then, what I asked Stephanie this question, she said she had a low self-esteem back then. If you had to rate your self-esteem 1 to 10, 10 being really high back then, 1 being really low, what would you give yourself?
Oh my God, this is ironic, because I know you have photos of what I looked like back then, and I look like I'm happier, but I inside would rate myself a 2. And now, compared to now, where I feel like a 10 because I feel like I'm healed, I feel like I'm a healthy person now, because being around somebody who was unhealthy and being involved in an unhealthy relationship, makes you unhealthy towards yourself. So I feel like now, back then I was a 2. Now I feel like, a 10.
Wow.
Inside and outside,
I mean, that's really helpful for our viewers to understand that, because, and just what you said it twice. In the last year and a half, you're still learning. But you're absorbing. You're receptive to learning. It's not like you have these visions that you don't see anything. You're receptive to learning and to better yourself, which will better your relationship with everybody around.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like I'm still learning all the time, because just because I got rid of a bad relationship and I've been single for quite some time, I realized I was still allowing those red flags with friendships even that were around me that was still unhealthy. And it made me so much more aware. It's almost like becoming more aware of yourself through healing yourself through all of this. You become more aware of yourself and more aware of, what kind of respect you deserve. Because back then I didn't, because of how I was treated, I was like, okay, I guess I just don't deserve to be respected. I guess I just don't deserve a happy, healthy situation. Like you almost convince yourself that you don't deserve it. So it was like, I'm learning that. And still now, I still have to put up boundaries, like healthy boundaries. That's been something it's hard for me, but I'm learning. I'm still learning. Still putting in that work to make
that's at the core myself. What Steve and I do is exactly that. I mean, you you can't heal from toxic relationships if you don't really get to know who you are. If you don't get to know who you are without any relationships. And that's something actually I have clients right now. When we first start working together, I said the initial 12 weeks, I want you not to date. And there's a lot of people that are like, they're not happy with me. They're like, but why not? I want to be able to date. And I said, yes, but let's not date right now so that we can know who we are. We can get kind of like that baseline. And then you can start dating after that. But let's figure out who you are without anybody else getting in the way. Because so often we want to, we want to people please. So, well, hey, this person wants to go do this. I'm going to go do that too. I don't really know if I like it, but I'm going to go do it. Whatever that is. I want to know where our clients are, what they actually like for themselves, not because somebody else likes it, not because they feel like they're forced to it or they're inclined to because they're with someone. What do you want to do? What makes you tick? What makes you happy? That way you can figure out like, okay, now I know who I am without a relationship. Now finding someone that's going to actually work well with who I am. That's where we get the healthy relationships, not just like I'm going to become whoever I need to be to make this relationship work, which is where a lot of us come from when we start.
Yeah, absolutely. And like who I am now and not who I was then. Like I absolutely 100% agree with that. It's so important to do that. And now I feel like because I don't date either, I know what to look out for. So if someone's pressuring me and they're like, oh, come on, then I'm like, oh, no, red flag. Okay, bye. Like now you learn what to look out for and what not to let in now after, working on yourself.
Wow. So that's a good aspect that you bring up, both Aline and Stephanie, that, sometimes you have to kind of let dating take a side step right now, not look at dating because you have to focus in on yourself. Then you could be able to take a look at the relationships that are around you at a different level, a different perspective, because sometimes you get distracted or you get sidetracked by the person that you're with and you can fall into old patterns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just had a conversation with a client yesterday because her and I started working together and I said, I don't want you to date anybody. And she started talking more and more about this guy. And I said, okay, are you guys dating? And she said, well, not yet. I told him I wasn't really ready and I wanted some space, but he keeps pushing. And I said, well, that's a red flag. I don't really like that. And I said, really, when we start working together, I really want to make sure that you're not dating. So a few more sessions in, she admits that they are actually now dating. And I said, okay, well, we'll deal with it as it comes. So we worked together so far it's been about 5 weeks. So yesterday she had a bad feeling. She reached out to him. He had feelings for his ex-wife and he broke up with her. So it wasn't really that surprising. But when I talked to the client, I said, what were your red flags? She said, well, the fact that he was newly divorced. He had not really done a lot of work on himself. He pushed me into a relationship when I wasn't really ready. I told him that I needed space and he didn't give it to me. And I said, okay, those are great lessons. Now, what do we do in the future? And she said, well, that instinct she had the instinct. She knew that dating this guy was not going to be the right answer. But so I said, so why did you date him anyway? And she said, because he told me he was ready. So I wanted to believe him. She said, I thought that he knew himself well enough to know that he was ready. I said, but that's why we all have instincts. We have instincts, and your instinct was right on target there. It knew that was not going to be a healthy relationship, but you ignored it. And the reason why she ignored it is because she didn't trust her ability to make the right decisions for herself. And that's big, to really trust yourself to make the right decisions.
Yeah, no doubt. This is Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie McPhail. I'm Steve Vaccaro. That's our special guest, Valine Marquez. And I have a quote here I want to throw out there. And that's a good friend of yours, Valine. Talk about your friendship with her, but friendships in general. Now that you're able to establish boundaries, more effectively, how important are healthy relationships and healthy friendships to you?
Oh, gosh. So important. And yes, that is my absolute best friend, Christina. We've been friends since she was 2 and I was 3. It is so important. And here's the thing. I know if anybody's seen Sex in the City, you know the quotes where they say, you know, maybe your friends are your soulmates. And that is like the God's honest truth. I think it's so important for people to have like a really close friend to go through all the different stages and steps of life and to lean on, to, you know, give you advice through these, to stick by you, even though you might not be making the best decisions, you know, to still be there for you and listen to you as you go through them, you know. And she's someone who has literally been there for me, you know, my whole life, 33 years, you know.
Wow,
so
that's special. That's a special friendship. We have a quote, Carmine. It's the last one. I think it's on a white background. Well, we'll go with that one. You don't find love; it finds you. It's got a little bit to do with destiny, fate, and what's written in the stars. Valine, what do you think about that?
Okay, so yeah, that's so important. It's so true. I really honestly believe that the universe will send you someone that is right for you when you are ready. And that's the thing, is when you are ready, when you're healed from all the past things that have held you back from, you know, getting that happiness. I totally believe in that. Absolutely.
Okay. And we have the second quote we want to pop up there so we can all comment. At the end of the day, what really matters is that your loved ones are well, you've done your best, and you're thankful for all you have. Stephanie, what are your thoughts about that? You have a beautiful family. What's your thoughts?
We need to stop putting ourselves second best, second priority. I mean, really, that quote is so perfect because, I mean, what else is there but loving yourself, finding out who you are, having a wonderful family, have people that you appreciate, that support you. I mean, and our health, you know, having all that together is just, I'm so grateful. I wake up every day feeling so much gratitude that I get to experience this life, but knowing that I created it. You know, this was not something that just happened, I stumbled into. I did some hard work to create this life that I'm happy to wake up to every day.
Yeah. Valine, what's your thoughts on that quote?
Yeah, no, I think that's so important. And for me, because I'm a parent, and because of what I've gone through, I think it's so important to work on me and not even put myself in a position of a relationship until I feel healthy, till I know that's healthy, so that I can show them something healthy, you know?
And I know Carmine wants to get this quote up, so let's pop it up there so we can talk. We cannot force someone to hear a message that you're not ready to receive, but we must never underestimate the power of planting a seed. Stephanie, isn't that kind of the work that you do? Because sometimes you probably have to bite your tongue a little bit to get people to move quicker, but sometimes timing is everything, and you just got to plant that seed, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the most difficult parts of my job, is just getting people to understand that change can happen. Once we get them to understand that and they say, okay, let's hire you and work with you, that's actually the easy part, because we know what to do. We know all the right steps to take. We know the great consequences you're going to get from working with us. Like, your life is going to be transformed. The hardest part is realizing there's a possibility of that. So we have people that follow us actually, one of our most current clients, she started following us, I want to say like 3 years ago. And she just last week signed up for our Inner Circle coaching program because she was just watching. She just wanted to, and she said, she's like, all of the videos I watched, all the trainings that I saw, it all pumped me up and got me to a place where I felt empowered to actually make the change. So, you know, we can't force someone to heal when they're not ready. We can't force ourselves to heal when we're not ready. Instead of beating ourselves up and saying, you know, I should have done this 10 years ago or whatever, you're here now. You can create that change now. You can't go backwards, but if now is the right time for you, that's great. But remember that it's not your job to make somebody else heal. You can give them the idea, but it's not your job to make them figure it out and to take the steps. But for you, you get to decide when that is, when your time is ready, just like other people around you can decide for themselves as well.
That's great. Any thoughts on that, Valine?
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with, you know, healing yourself and allowing yourself to be healthy before you even get out there, and understanding that you're not going to be able to heal a person just because you want to be with them. Yeah, I think that's so true. And sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away from someone, no matter how much you love them. The best thing you can do is walk away.
Right. And sometimes during this pandemic,
14, I was 15. It's something that literally has just been in my heart. I mean, I have a 14-year-old son now. So right now, he just turned 15. Now, this is like a time for me, like, I lost a friend at that age. So it's so important for me to savor every single day, to understand how precious life really is. Because, you know, now that I'm raising someone at that age, it brings me back and it reminds you. And I go see people, I know there's people who, you know, they believe once someone's buried, like that's it, and you don't need to still go visit them. But for me, it's so important to still go visit. It's so important for me to still spend time with that person that was so close to me. It was such a monumental time in my life, in his family's life, our friends' lives. Like, it was so important that, you know, it reminds you how short life really can be, you know, and to not take it for granted. And honestly, it reminds me to put me first. It's always, I'm telling you, when I have the roughest days, I get this feeling like I need to go visit him and sit down and just, you know, let it out. And it helps me. And it reminds me, okay, you're going to be okay. You're going to get through this. You still have tomorrow to, you know, figure out what to do, to work on things. So it's so important for me.
Yeah. And I know it's a personal relationship that you have, and I too lost someone at a young age in high school. And I think back on it. Her name was Tony Bloom, and she was we were good friends. And the first week in college, she was hit by a drunk driver way upstate New York, and she passed away. And I remember the relationship we had in high school, and to this day, it sticks to me and it stays in my heart. But it helps me to endure difficult times, but to help me help others. So I hear what you're saying, and when I saw that posting recently, I wanted to talk about it because that's who you are. You connect with people in so many ways, and you know, I know we've never really met, but you've connected with me on a certain level, and now it's Stephanie, but you share with our viewers a little bit. Why is it important for you to share your experience with others at this point? You know, people might be struggling. You could just deal with it on your own, but I think you have the motivation to help others.
For me, it's so important because I feel like in this day and age, it's so easy to numb the pain. It is so easy to disregard it, to brush it under the rug, to try to forget about it, to try to just force yourself to deal with the situation. But at the end of the day, you're not happy. And the most important thing in life is your happiness, is to be happy and enjoy every day that you're waking up and what you're going through and the people that you're surrounded by, the people that you're choosing to be in your life. And I think it's so important to show them that you can go through the absolute worst things in life, and that doesn't define you. That doesn't make you who you are. You are so worthy of so much more, and you can work towards that. And show yourself that you deserve the respect, you know, to realize that there is good out there for you. It may take time, but eventually you will get your happy ending that you want, you know. That's why it's so important for me to share a lot of, you know, there's a lot of different aspects we haven't talked about on here, but there's a lot of different things that I do share with people that I talk to, and there's all different aspects in life that we go through, and how nice is it to know that we're not alone, that we're not the only person that ever had to deal with this by ourselves. It's so therapeutic, like you said, like meeting you and talking to you, like it's so therapeutic to just even talk to someone else about things, just to get it out, to not have to keep it inside. I feel like that's so important.
That is great words of wisdom there. Stephanie, what's your final thoughts about Valine and her journey and her willingness to help others at this point?
Well, I think that's one of the things, the reasons why, you know, coming on the show is so helpful and sharing your story for so many other people, because, you know, I found that for myself, sharing my story with others inspired them to get help, to get support, to know that things can change for them. And I think that the more that any of us, the more we're open and honest about what we've had to overcome, the more able other people are to be open and honest. And it kind of inspires others. You know, it inspires them to say, hey, something can change. It is, look at this person doing all this work, and look at where they are now. I mean, I look back at 10 years ago in toxic relationships, and you know, I was a little uncomfortable around women, intimidated by women. Like, there was all these things, and now I help women overcome toxic relationships. Like, I didn't know I would do either of those things. You know, I was a teacher. I didn't know that I would not be teaching anymore. Like, all of those things, to be on that journey, and because I shared my story, some people are able to come up and now grow themselves, and I continue to grow. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing. So the more people can share their stories, the more inspiring it is, and the more that other people will start to really step into their full lives as well.
Wow. Marlene, how can people get a hold of you or contact you if you just want to chat with them? How can they reach out to you?
I do have regular social media on my Facebook. It's Valine Marquez, or I have, a separate page. It's called Healing with V, where I do talk to people about, private things. We can message privately. Usually, I appreciate that more than just publicly. Just so, some people aren't as comfortable as I am about expressing it, and that's totally okay. But yeah, Healing with V is a page I have on Facebook that I do communicate with people on.
Marlene, thank you so very much. And we're so grateful that you came on, took a few minutes out to help others in your journey. And we'll have to get you back on sooner than a year and a half.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That was Valine Marquez. And what a story she had there, Stephanie. Being willing to share that story. It's not easy. I know you do it week after week, and I've been doing it gradually. But I learned from you, and I really I learn from all our guests each and every week. I mean, no matter what part of the road they come from, it's a journey we're all sharing and supporting one another with.
If you think really about it, all of us, to get to whatever age we're at, we've had to overcome something. So if you think about human beings as we're much more connected than we realize. If you see someone in the street and you're walking down and say hello or, be friendly to other people, realize that if you actually started talking to them, there'd be things about them that you'd have in common, because you both have overcome things. Something has had to be overcome in order for you to get to where you at. So I think it's something to keep in mind. What I try to keep in mind when I'm talking to people where I might be stressed out or not really in the mood or whatever, I think who knows what this person is dealing with right now? So it's much easier to be kind, much easier to be open than to just shoo someone off and just kind of be there to just say hi. And sometimes just a smiling face is all someone needs.
Well, that's why I like doing this show with you, because you can't just shoo me off. We have to come back every Wednesday. You're stuck with me at least 1 hour a week.
You get me. Well, and my daughter, my 2-year-old, just came in. So she wants to come and she said she wants to come and hang out, but now you want to come and say hi?
Ah, come on in.
No, she just wants to sit next to me. You want to sit?
Okay. Ah, she's adorable.
Oh. She wants to sit there. She just wanted to say hi for a second.
Okay. Well, you know what? It's the end of the road for us today. We have a back in the day commercial we're going to end this show off with. And Stephanie, another great show. Thank you so very much. God bless you. And we'll be getting together next week. This is our show, Kicking Healthy Relationship to the Curb. Back in the day commercial. We'll see you next week. God bless.
Hi, my name is Mike. This is a story about me and my friends. Like my mom, she's a wonderful mother. And my dad, he is a one cool dude. That's my teacher. She is the best.
Mike's a super kid. Mike is very
brilliant,
outspoken.
That's my friend Tracy. I think she's beautiful. Come on, let's take a ride to McDonald's. There's all my friends. Hey, me and Dave are our best pals. We are a great team. Pie is up. Perfect. Ever since I was a little baby, people are always